All right, everybody, welcome to the Vault Podcast for music still matters. At least to us, anyway. So some people it doesn't. Some people they want to go listen to Florida Georgia Line, and I guess that's fine. Whatever. All right, today once again we're just going to be talking about our Spotify playlist and a very important one, our fourth playlist, a collaborative playlist, which. Jessamine, did we even come up with a proper name for this? What did we decide to theme this as?
I think we had talked about like first music that we
That
threw
means
around
something, maybe?
yeah, it was like means something, and then also like first music purchased was another one. So I had a little bit of both on my contributions to the list.
Yeah, me too. Anthony's with us again. He did not contribute anything, so he's going to be the judge and jury on this, I guess. This is going to be for some interesting conversations. I'm sure you saw these songs and you're like, "What the heck is going on here?"
Some of them, yes.
All right, cool. We're going to start off with our personal playlist first. Jessamine, I gotta ask you on yours. You went with electronic theme on this.
Yeah,
this
absolutely.
week. Okay, this is not. When I listen to electronic music, which I absolutely love, generally this kind of stuff is not it, and it's not because I don't like it. It's got this. I guess I listen to the weirder stuff, like I'll just throw out like Depeche Mode or Skinny Puppy.
Absolutely.
It's a little bit more basic and a little bit more maybe just dance oriented. Is there a specific genre that you would label a lot of these as? Because a lot of these songs, I feel like they could be the tracks for some hip hop and rap artists.
Well, and a lot of these tracks, there are some dubstep tracks on here. There are some trap remixes on here.
Yeah.
And so that's something that I have as of late, which I'll tell you, I did not really come up listening to a lot of purely electronic music. I had a cousin who lived out west, and she went to these magical places called raves, and she was 8 years or 6 years older than me, and she would bring home these flyers from these raves, and they would have these mushrooms all over them, and they all took place in warehouses, and she wore Jinko jeans and shopped at Gadzooks, and I thought she was so cool. And
Gadzooks, I totally forgot about that place.
Oh yeah, and she played these tapes for me. She drove this little Ford. Is it not the Fiesta, but what was before the? Anyway, it's irrelevant. Anyway, a little egg-shaped Ford car that she put stickers all over. And
Festiva.
Played these, oh yes, that's absolutely what it was. A Ford Festiva.
Festiva.
Perfect. Hatchback, covered in stickers. This my older rave girl cousin, and she played these songs for me. And I thought, I grew up in the middle of nowhere where there was no access to any music like that. There were no raves happening where I was from, and so I thought electronic music was just totally outside of my realm. And then it wasn't until I was in high school and I really got into listening to Prodigy, which, as far as in its basic roots, is jungle in its classic form. It's actually, a subgenre of house per se. And it has that darker element to it. So I really got into that. I'm a huge Portishead fan. Just across the board, but a lot of this music has been music that I got into because I wanted something that did not necessarily have incredible lyrical content, something that, Zan, I've said before, I listen to lyrics. Part of the curse of listening to lyrics is that I can't focus on anything else, is because I'm trying to figure out what they're saying, and I'm trying to dig into the meaning of the song. And I really enjoy songs that repeat a hook, have a general theme. For example, the first track on my list is a song that I really like. It's called "Bitch" by the Gutter Brothers, which it's a trap song across the board. It has a lot of southern hip hop style beat influences as far as the hi-hat action and things like that going on, the general BPM that it sits within. So that's a song that I really like. But some of these other tracks or songs that are more chill, Deadmau5 is somebody that I think is more chill, and Odessa is a band that I was introduced to by my friend Carissa, and I was incredibly impressed with them. And they were a band that I wasn't sure if I was going to give them a chance at first, and then I started digging a little bit deeper into their music, and it's pretty awesome. Two dudes. They feature a lot of female singers, which I think is really awesome, and they're kind of pioneering what is now being called chill step, which is a cool genre that I'm really enjoying just in general. And as far as spacey elements, there are a lot of those in chill step just in general. But yeah, and some of these are some songs that are relatively new to me that I'm enjoying. Example of that would be Underdressed by Verite as a group that I'm really enjoying, and then also the Zax remix of Roses by the Chainsmokers. I like the Chainsmokers on their own. I really enjoy this remix also. So yeah, Colors is a song that I would like played at my funeral, which is really kind of morbid, but that's a song that the first time I heard it, that's immediately where my mind went, and that's a song that I would like played it at my funeral. I love that song so much, and I love the imagery within it as well. So that was my list. What'd you think about it, Zan? Did you listen to all of it?
Yeah, of course I did. And especially when you told me it was electronic music, I was actually pretty excited because I love electronic music. But I wanted to talk about it because it wasn't the electronic music I know. It was something new. Like I said, that's why I wanted to discuss it about all the subgenres. I didn't really, like the trap stuff, I could kind of see that. I didn't really see much of the dubstep. I mean, there was maybe hints of it. But a lot of times when I hear dubstep, I just want to do this. And I didn't really want to do that with any of these songs. It's just they were different. It wasn't something I was used to, so that's why I wanted to discuss it. I'll just go over. I had 4 songs that I really liked. One I absolutely loved. Is it Time Stretch by Bass Nectar, which everybody, like, if you know electronic music, you know Bass Nectar, whether you like them or not. Trippy by Mayhem and Anti-Serum, that's cool. Awesome. Raindrops, is that Sunburn?
Yeah,
And what's that? Is it Curly or Kirly? I don't know how you're supposed to pronounce these things. Bunch of weird names.
Wait,
and the best one, Sound Clash. Flostradamus and Troy Boy, that song, like, there's something about it that just, like, makes me go, ugh! And that's kind of what I like about electronic music. And, like, that's the same thing, one reason I like grindcore. I'm not, like, a huge fan of it, but I will listen to it, it makes me go, ugh! And that's the whole grab of it for me. And a lot of electronic music I listen to is, like, 4 on the floor, just constant beat, And that's why this stuff kind of threw me off, but that's why I wanted to talk about it with you so I could find out a little bit more about it. So I was informed tonight.
I'm really glad that those tracks in particular stood out to you, because those are some of my personal favorites that have been with me, with the exception of the Sunburn track. Those are tracks that have been with me for a while, that have always stood out to me. Trippy is a great song. That's a song that, even though there are a lot of repetitive elements, it's a really interesting song, and those breakdowns are nice. Time Stretch, as far as Bass Nectar is concerned, I had the opportunity of seeing him in concert 3 or 4 years ago, and it's whenever he was touring with this album. So I was able to see this song performed live with this amazing light show, and this was one of the most beautiful songs I've ever seen. And you think about that as far as a song that you are hearing with your ears, but it was one of the most beautiful songs I had ever seen, because there was this amazing light show there was a hummingbird visual that goes along with that album cover, and just a really neat scene. And that's a song that's always stuck with me as well. So I'm glad you dug some of those, Zan. That makes me happy. I'm glad that seriously, because I know that there's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of stuff you're like, because Tone, I don't know how many of these that you've seen, but some history here. I'm like, Zan, these are the deepest songs in the world. Zan's like,
Yes.
they might as well be talking about apple pie, because I don't know.
Pretty much.
I'm not
Yeah.
listening for it, And so I'm like, make sure to listen for the depth. And he's like, listened for it, didn't really see it. So the fact that you had some songs that you dug off this, that
Well, I always
makes me
dig a
excited.
lot of your.
No, I know, but like,
Yeah.
that they like, I feel like I had more tracks resonate with you this time than I have in the past. So I'm pumped about that.
That's awesome.
All right, Anthony. You're the judge and the jury on this. What do you got? Anything?
I don't know if I remember right. I think Zan, you put Korn on this playlist.
Oh no, we haven't got to that yet. You're spoiling our surprise here.
Oh.
This is her first.
Did
You may not have had time to check it out.
What?
Did you look at my personal list, my jams of the week list? It was all electronic stuff.
No. I looked
Okay,
at the wrong
then
thing.
Okay.
Then.
No, it's cool. Hey,
we're gonna get there.
we
We're gonna get there.
didn't know we were gonna have you on until last minute, so it's all good.
Yeah, that's fine.
Anything you can contribute, we're happy to have. So, Jessamine, I'm gonna have to pull mine up because I remember what I put on it, but I don't have it written down. So, what do you got?
Well, I enjoyed your
Here we go.
playlist. But I would say on a scale of to awesome, it was okay, which that's a rating system that I just came up with. It's very very loosey-goosey. I have to say that I was not familiar with the band Scream Feeder.
Oh, there's a story behind that one.
Well, let me throw out, are you familiar with the local band Slugs?
The name is familiar, but I can't really put anything with it.
I highly suggest you check out local band Slugs. Their lead singer, her name I believe is Delaney Smith. She has a very similar, and I don't know if this band is perhaps an influence of hers, but I found that influence to be very close there. So check them out. They're a Springfield band. They play around all the time. And I don't know any of them personally, so it's not an endorsement other than just, if you like this, you will enjoy this local band. But I would say that I enjoyed The Used being on there. I'm a huge fan of Black Sabbath. The Voodoo Glow Skulls made me happy. That track made me just smile in the biggest way. My favorite track off the list would have been Semi-Constructive Criticism, because I love Circus Survive so much. Oh,
yes.
All the feels.
See, I hated them. I hated them so much until I saw them at Warped Tour, and it was like this whole new thing. And then I started going back and checking it out, and I'm like, I never had a problem with the guy's voice, from day one. I know that's what a lot of people, they hate that style of singing, oh, it's too girly, it's emo, whatever. I never had a problem with that. It was musically, a lot of those kind of bands were too boring for me. And I saw them live, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to go back and check this out. And I'm like, man, there's a lot of stuff going on musically with all their songs. So
I love that band so much.
Yeah, they're so good. And I hadn't listened to that track in a minute, so that one made me happy. And then Tone, this is something that I've been doing to kind of poke at Zan's playlist and Robbie's playlist, and I'll probably be doing the same on your playlist. I call these my no tracks. The no track from me on Zan's playlist this week would be He Doesn't Understand.
Yes.
Is that by
Stacy Q?
Stacy Q. Okay, that could have been by insert stereotypical 80s female artist name here. It could have been, Sammy B, or I don't know.
Debbie Gibson.
Rebecca, or
Tiffany.
Exactly. It was. Shame on you, Zan. It's too stereotypical. I know you love that dancey
stuff.
80s stuff, but it makes me throw up in my mouth. That one made me
when I was 2 foot tall, all I can ever remember is my mom and my grandma putting me in the stroller and pushing me around that famous bar before it was Macy's, and they would have that stuff on the. They would have that stuff on the monitors, And I was just like amazed at all this like 80s cheese stuff that was going on, and to this day I love all that stuff. So Flock of Seagulls was on here too, so you're gonna
I
see.
enjoyed that as well.
Yeah.
And I'm not, and don't totally rule me out on the 80s, because I love the 80s, and in fact I think I probably know what my theme of next week's playlist, which on my mixtape, which we're going to get to. I mean, Duran Duran is on our mixtape, but anyway.
One other thing I'll touch on
digress.
my playlist before we move on. You mentioned this. Let's see. You mentioned Scream Theater, and the other song right above that was UMI. And okay, so here's the thing on those two bands, and I think you'll find this interesting, and that's why I like to do this show, because you find all these weird things about these bands and how you relate to them. So they're off of this video game Quarantine, which was a PC game, and I think it came out on like 3D. It was only on the obscure systems and then PC. You couldn't get it on a regular system. So the idea of it was like a kind of a cyberpunk genre, which I absolutely love as far as like comics and stories and stuff. And you're like a taxi cab driver, and you drive around and you pick up junkies and hookers and all these just weird people, and you have to take them from one place to another, but there's all these like gangs and cyberpunks trying to attack you. Well, there's a soundtrack, but I didn't, like, I always would play the game, like, I ended up, like, the game, like, you would hit somebody and you could wipe the blood off with your windshield wipers, and this is like 1994.
Yeah.
So this is way back, but I always dug the soundtrack, and then one day I found out I could put the game in my CD player and it would play all the songs.
What?
And I was like, I'm never playing this game again. It's going straight into my CD collection. So, and I don't think I have it anymore. But the whole album, like it's, you know how my mixtapes are. Obviously, it's totally crazy, and there's all different kinds of genres. That's kind of how this was. They pulled all the bands, if I remember right, they pulled them all out of Australia, and they were all like independent bands out of Australia to make this album. So just, a couple cool notes to throw out there. Yeah. Anthony, did you have time to check this playlist out or no?
I don't think so. I think I looked at the wrong playlist, actually.
Oh, no, you looked at the right one, because I think that's what we're going to spend most of our time talking about. And we're going to get into that now. We mentioned it, kind of our playlist featuring music that really mattered, if we're going to use my hashtag that I like to throw around on here. Jessamine, I'll let you kind of get started, because I know we're right where I'm going with mine in a linear order. So what do you got?
Okay, well, I looked at a couple of different eras of my very early musical self. The first one I want to point out, I suppose, would be "Hangin' Tough" by New Kids on the Block.
Love it.
I was born in 1984. I was born in 1984, and I will tell you that whenever those boys hit the scene, I was just old enough to think that was just so super cool. My parents bought me that particular tape at Walmart, and it was around the same time that I had my first Sony Walkman, and so that tape was my tape, not borrowing Phil Collins or the Ozark Mountain Daredevils from my parents, but my own tape that went into that tape player, and I spent a lot of time listening to that. Yeah, and and that was something I spent a lot of time listening to. The next one is kind of on a sad note. The song "Ordinary World" by Duran Duran. That song came out in 1993, and of course I was 9 years old at that point. There were a lot of adult contemporary stations or country stations on the radio where I was from. We didn't pick anything up in Springfield that was top 40 really at all, but this was soft enough that it was still on those soft rock stations. Anyway, the words of the song are incredibly depressing about, just not being able to, about it being very difficult to find one's way in a world that's very ordinary when you yourself are very different. And as a 9-year-old kid, I remember listening to this song and feeling, this is how I feel. The song is how I feel. And I was 9, and I led a very sheltered life and had no reason to really feel that. But I remember listening to it in the truck. My dad would take me to meet the bus at my grandma's house in the morning, and just think, that song, or those songs, that's, that all of those words are my feelings. It's all of it, all of those. So that was 9-year-old me already being I was emo before that was even happening. Well, and looking at as far as progression of a genre, emo was directly influenced by, bands like Duran Duran and Depeche Mode, and looking at, as far as on that new wave side of things. But aside, but when I started really getting into music and on a more intellectual level, whenever I developmentally, whenever I was in 6th grade and music started, I was looking more deeply into a lot of lyrics. I spent a lot of time writing lyrics down. I was listening to 2 bands all the time, and those 2 bands were Counting Crows and Dave Matthews Band. I had the biggest crush on Adam Duritz. I got to meet him once. I cried to the point that I couldn't get words out of my mouth, and it was so embarrassing. It was completely humiliating. I was just crying as I walked up to him. He signed my ticket, and I'm just sobbing, can't get words out. It was ridiculous. But lyrically, the period between between August and Everything After, which of course had hits like Mr. Jones and Round Here on it, and then following that with Recovering the Satellites that had the smash hit A Long December. There's some really amazing, well-written, just lyrically deep tracks on that, and these were some that I spent a lot of time with Counting Crows that were not necessarily. Raining in Baltimore did get some exposure, but these were tracks that aren't necessarily the most popular Counting Crows songs you're going to hear on the radio, but some of my faves. And then Satellite by Dave Matthews Band. I put that one on there just because when I first started learning how to play guitar, I wanted to learn how to play all of these sweet Dave Matthews Band songs and all these sweet John Mayer songs and all of these sweet James Taylor songs, and I had no idea really what was involved with playing those songs, especially Dave Matthews, whose timing is completely his own, and you kind of just have to feel it. And Satellite, it blew my mind. It was a song that made me realize what you hear and actually trying to make that happen are very different things, and people have to be incredibly talented to make that happen. So Satellite was a moment for me as a musician as well. So yeah, those are my tracks, my early tracks.
Well,
cuts.
There's nothing to be afraid of, nothing to be ashamed of, I should say, about New Kids on the Block. Because I think I was about as big of a New Kids on the Block fan as you were. I had, I wish I had the Christmas tape still. Like, I wore that thing out. I had the Christmas special on VHS. I had one T-shirt. I had multiple action figures, or dolls, whatever you want to call them. They weren't like my favorite band, but I really liked them at the time. There was other stuff which we're going to get to on my playlist, so don't feel bad about New Kids on the Block. I mean, there's nothing to be ashamed about there. Let's see, I'm just trying to make comments on what your songs were. That Duran Duran. I kind of drew a blank for a minute. Absolutely love Duran Duran. That's when I talked about more electronic stuff. That's like really, really basic electronic music, if you want to even put it in that way. This song, this era, I guess you could say, a lot of people I know love this stuff. I don't. I don't think it's bad. It's just I'm used to like stuff like Wild Boys, and like this song is just totally different musically, lyrically, just totally different than a lot of that stuff. So, Counting Crows, they were just kind of always there to me. I didn't dislike them. I didn't really like them. I never owned any of their albums. Music comes on, I'm like, oh yeah, Counting Crows, okay. And that's just kind of it. So I don't have a lot to say, but let me tell you a little something about Dave Matthews Band. All right, I can't stand Dave Matthews Band, and let me tell you why I can't stand Dave Matthews Band. When this guy said, first of all, I want to say, from a musician standpoint, I don't play any instruments, but I think I understand what you're getting at, like how he plays.
Yes.
Like I can hear it, so I understand your point. I'm not gonna put that down at all. However, this guy sounds like he's upside down underwater singing with marbles in his mouth. And I just can't take it. And better yet, bigger than that, I'll put that even aside. This is one thing I cannot get out of my mind when I hear Dave Matthews Band. Every jerk I know that I went to high school with that wore the preppiest clothes, that was like the frat boy, jock, college, whatever, they're all still to this day into Dave Matthews. Like, that's all they listen to. And when I hear Dave Matthews Band, that's all I can think of are those people.
Dan, I used to have so many DMB bootlegs, son. I had so many bootlegs. They were stolen from me. They were my prized possessions. I had Dave Matthews
They were stolen
Band
from you from those frat boys.
Right, exactly.
Yep.
Out of my Toyota Tercel that had the Dave Matthews Band sticker on the back glass. Oh.
They knew it. They're like, oh, this has got that marble mouth singer in it. We got to steal those.
I bet those rare Live at Sandstone tracks are on that one.
Yeah.
Bust out the glass. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's all I got. So there's some good, some bad, and some interesting. I just pointed out. Anthony, what do you got?
I'd say one of my favorite songs on it. This is
Just anything. Any thoughts? Talk about how bad Dave Matthews Band is. I don't care.
I don't hate Dave Matthews Band. I really didn't. I mean, I liked their songs that they were put out that were popular on the radio throughout the times in the past 10 years or so.
Yeah.
So all their popular stuff. Never really looked into it too deep, but knowing Jessamine now and some other people that like them too, they've kind of got me into listening to more of it. But I can't think of anything memorable or any certain tracks that I liked a lot. I just need to spend more time with it. But
I will help you guys spend more time with it on upcoming playlists.
It doesn't sound like he wants to listen to it.
I will. I will listen.
Does. No,
I will listen to anything. Yeah. And by the way, Jessamine, I was not putting you into the category with the frat boys that I was talking about.
No, I totally know. And I will tell you,
Yeah.
I do not take any offense. I have been, like I said, I've been a Dave Matthews Band fan since I was 12 years old. So I have heard all of the hate, and it's okay. Everybody.
Let me put it this way. They're in the Dave Matthews Band deadheads, we'll call them. Just throwing it out there so you know what I'm talking. So everybody knows what I'm talking about. Okay. I'm gonna put them in the same category as the diehard Slipknot fans. This is metal. This is all we're gonna listen to. And if you're not playing a boring riff with a mask on, then you're not metal. It's the same thing. Because, like I said, I remember giving Dillinger Escape Plan to this guy in high school, and he's like, oh, it sounds like offbeat Slipknot. And I'm like...
No!
So, yeah, same thing there.
Yes! Sounds like offbeat Slipknot. That's the best thing. I want that on a shirt.
Yeah.
You should send that to Dillinger Escape Plan as an idea for their next for a shirt. Just to
that could be their stage banner backdrop. Offbeat Slipknot.
I've heard other people say that before as well.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh man, that's bad.
Yeah. Not a whole bunch, but 2 or 3 other people before have said that. That's awesome.
All right, you got anything else on Jessamine playlist, or are we ready to move on?
Wait, we're looking at the mixtape, so we're talking about...
All right, that's what I mean. I mean your section of the mixtape.
Oh,
Sorry.
Okay.
By the way, I should have specified this once again. This is mixtape number 4, which if you follow me, Jessamine, Robbie, and then hopefully Anthony, we're going to get you on there. Hopefully you will find the mixtapes. We're all following them, so we're going to keep those up, not our personal ones, but our collaborative Vault mixtapes. Those are going to be up there. All right, now is explanation time on my end. Kicking it off with Vanilla Ice. That's the first tape I ever owned. Why did I like Vanilla Ice? I have no idea. But I still like Vanilla Ice to this day. I have this on CD, and I lost my original tape, but I found another To the Extreme tape a couple years ago at a flea market for $0.25. So I picked it up. There's actually some pretty cool songs on here. Ice Ice Baby's a horrible song. I've never liked that song, even back in the day when it first came out. I was like, man, this sucks, but if you go like 2 tracks more on the tape, it's really good. So, I really liked Vanilla Ice. I don't know, I was really into rap, and you're going to get into that early on. Some other artists I didn't put on here because we keep it to, 5 or 6.
Yeah.
Was really into Criss Cross, Young MC, MC Hammer, that whole kind of thing, and like I guess it would be late 80s into early 90s rap and hip hop stuff. Not that's the next step. Probably the early to mid 90s. I started finding Much Music, which is like Canadian MTV. It's not. Is it even around anymore?
I don't think so. Or not.
Okay.
They were purchased by some entity.
I
don't remember because did it become Fuse or?
That's what it is. That's what it is. It's Fuse, right? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so Much Music was there. MTV was still playing videos, and they were playing tons of like Tupac and Biggie and Dre. All this stuff is real. So I was getting to check out all this stuff. What else? I mentioned it before. There was a MSU college radio station that played nothing but like underground hip hop, and it was like Thursday nights from like 9 p.m. to 11. And I would like have to sneak a radio under my pillow because I was supposed to go to bed at like 9 o'clock, and I'd have my radio in. I'd be listening to all this like hip hop I'd never heard before. So that was a huge influence. And one of the songs was Sugar Hill by AZ. I don't know why this song I like it so much, but this is one that stood out. Like if I had to pick like the next step of music, it went from Vanilla Ice to this. That's kind of how all my songs are going. Is they're going in order. So that was the next step. And then there was just this weird transition. I was hearing a lot of alternative music on just the radio. MTV, a little bit of alternative music. But Beck came out, and I was like, well, this is kind of a weird fusion of, like, I don't even know what it is. It's kind of rock. It's kind of, there's some hip-hop elements. It's just kind of weird. And I will also say that up until this time, like, I remember, like, this is totally random, I went to grab, like, a blanket out of a closet, and I found my dad had a bunch of music VHS tapes, and there was, like, AC/DC, Wasp, and Prince, Purple Rain.
Yeah.
So you're seeing where I'm kind of running the gamut here. Yeah, and that's where all this stuff starts coming together. I'm like, okay, so I got High Five by Beck on here because I thought that kind of drew all those elements together. And then is when it really changed. I remember backing out of the parking lot. I don't even remember what album I bought at the time, but we were backing out of the parking lot at what was Blockbuster Music, which is now Warehouse Music, I believe. You guys know where I'm talking about, right? It's in Springfield, like right by Chili's.
Oh, that's
across from Olive Garden.
That's Entertain Mart.
Entertain Mart now. Okay, yeah. Well, do you guys remember when it was Blockbuster Music, which it was the big deal because you could take like a CD up and they would let you listen to the CD before. It was so good back in the day. Anyway, we were backing out of there, and I don't know, we were talking about music or something. My dad's like, "You're not going to be able to handle what I just bought." I'm like, "Oh yeah, put it in." First thing he puts in is Korn, the first Korn album, and Ball Tongue was the first song.
Yeah.
I'm like, whoa! Like, what is this? I've never, like, again, keep in mind, I had heard Wasp and AC/DC, so I'm familiar with, like, a little bit of metal. But I was like, this is so heavy, I have no idea what's going on here. And he's like, oh, wait, it gets better. He plays a clip of Electric Head Part 1, the first song off of Astro Creep 2000 by White Zombie.
Yes.
And he wouldn't even get through the whole song. And he shuts it off. He's like, no, you can't handle it. We're going to go to something else.
Yes.
and of course, that, like, intrigue, it piqued my interest. I'm like, okay, I'm intrigued. What is this stuff? So I start, MTV right around this time, they start playing More Human Than Human by White Zombie. They start playing, Much Music starts playing a lot of, like, different types of rock and metal and all this variety. So, like, my head's just on a swivel at that point, and then it just takes off from there. and to not like I just listened to so many genres now. The next step, which was probably the most important step, I see a Cannibal Corpse cover, I buy it strictly off the cover. Devoured by Vermin's the first song I ever heard. Totally like okay, this I don't know that I can go much heavier than this, which I found if you find out later you can. But this is still one of my favorite Cannibal Corpse songs to this day, and I'll stop there because then it starts branching off into too many things. So. There you go. Story time's over.
I actually bought the first album I ever bought just because my uncle had an album when I was a kid, was Eaten Back to Life, which was their first album.
Nice, yeah.
And I bought that here at Stick It in Your Ear on tape. It's heavy.
I think I have that on tape too. I got a Metal Blade like the early 2000s when nobody wanted cassette tapes. They were running cassette tapes for $1 a piece, and I bought like 15 of them. So.
I think I have a couple Iced Earth tapes as well.
I have some like bootleg Iced Earth, yeah. Tapes. Awesome. Jessamine, you have anything to say about it?
No, I totally enjoyed it actually, believe it or not. Ball Tongue was a song that I hadn't heard in a minute, and so that as soon as like the first beat of it, like I was like, yes, it made me so happy. And then I'm also I love White Zombie. White Zombie came into my life when I was in high school, and it was a different kind of driving music that I, as far as like a driving beat behind it, that was not like anything that I had listened to before. Because again, keeping in mind up to this point, a lot of Counting Crows, a lot of Dave Matthews Band, and while I was, and then like a lot of 50s through like late 70s rock, and that was that was a lot of what I was listening to. So White Zombie was a band that my boyfriend in high school listened to, and so he was like, listen to this, and so I was exposed to a lot of bands during that time that I don't think I would have been otherwise, and I'm thankful for it. So yeah, that was another one that I was a fan of. And then also, did you have a Typo Negative song on this list?
Oh no, that was on the other song, or that was on my playlist. But you can talk about it if you want. Like that.
Oh no, I couldn't remember if it was on this one or because I meant to. I don't remember what I was going to write down about it, but they were another band that whenever I listened to them for the first time, it was like, what's happening here? I'd never. There was a radio station out of West Plains, Missouri, and I don't know. I'm sure they had some kind of syndicated feed from somewhere, and I was getting to hear some relatively new rock tracks. It wasn't super late, but it was later than it was like 10 p.m. on a Sunday, but that's but I was like, that's where I was listening to Typo Negative for the first time. But that was also where I was exposed to like Porno for Pyros, which was
I love those guys.
Yeah, I do too. So exposed to a lot of kind of interesting and different stuff, but Typo Negative is a really interesting band that I kind of came into contact with around the same time as White Zombie. So yeah, nostalgia partisan. I had fun with it.
I want to interject here about your comment about Porno for Pyros. Isn't that like the offshoot of Jane's Addiction?
Yeah, Perry.
Sort
Perry
of,
Farrell.
yeah.
Kind of.
Yeah.
I mean, from the vocalist of Jane's Addiction.
Yeah,
is in
yeah,
it?
yeah.
Okay, yeah.
It's
that's
Perry. It's Perry, and who else is it? Zan? Because he's got somebody from somewhere else.
Yeah, there's a couple other guys like I used to know, and I was just
Yeah.
I just want to make sure we were on the same page. I couldn't remember for sure.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah,
Awesome.
we are. And one other thing I want to mention, I kind of just told a short story of progressing through all these genres and going in different directions. This was all done with no internet. I had was word of mouth, magazines, because I would always go to grocery stores and grab all the music magazines, no matter what type of genre it was. I was even grabbing like if there was I remember seeing a musician friend catalog at someone's house, and I'm like flipping through to see whose guitars are endorsed by this guy, so then I can look him up about what band he's in. Just stuff like that. And that's something that like I can still get that now by going through Spotify and just going crazy. But I think my appreciation for finding a lot of this stuff is gone because like used to, it was like finding this diamond in the rough that, it was like climbing a mountain to find an unknown band even if they were somewhat popular. And now it's just, the internet's just left it wide open. So I just thought I'd throw that out there.
See, I think it's exactly the same. And I do want to say before I want to make a quick note, I think that both of you guys being, kind of, because you guys are both from Springfield proximity, correct?
Yeah.
Born and raised here, yeah.
Okay, yeah. I am not. So there was not a place to go get music magazines. That was not something that we could do. If I wanted to hear all of that really awful country music that you guys normally put on your playlist with Zan and Robbie put, some just amazingly wonderful 90s country. If that if I was interested in Way Down Yonder on the Chattahoochee, lots of radio stations could accommodate that. But as far as what I was listening to, I felt like there was like one decent radio station, and we didn't get where I lived there was no cable either. So until I was 14 years old, we had 4 channels. 2 of those were PBS channels. So my exposure was so limited, and so that's something that I love about the internet. And I think, Zan, the internet, because of the internet, it's still the same. You still have to dig for it. No, you're not flipping through a musician's friend, but you are going down a rabbit hole of YouTube videos, of Spotify playlists, of if you like this guy, you'd love this guy's suggested artists, stuff that we all do to continue to find new bands. And I know that we all do it because I talk to both of you, so it's like, that's something that we're all doing that, and it's still there. And I think that, again, people will ask me about, music, and it's like so much of what's on the radio is not good, but there's so much good music that's out there, but you have to find it. You have to dig for it a little bit.
Yeah, it's just easier
now. I'm used to that. Yeah.
Well, it's the same thing. It's just easier
it's harder
now.
At the same time. Is it easier, or is there just more, pardon my French, but more shit to wade through? Ultimately.
Both.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is, like, I remember, just as another example, tell me who does this nowadays, and I still do this actually when I buy an album. You open it up and you look at the liner notes. You see, okay, are they wearing a band T-shirt? Who is this band? Who did they put in the thank yous? Like, what bands did they thank? What record labels? And then you start going into the record labels. You can do that on Spotify now, but let's face it. Other than like us diehard fans, your average person, if they want to find a band, they just kind of flip through whatever's online. They don't actually like look at all these little hidden clues to try to find others. If that makes any sense.
However, though, Wikipedia makes a beautiful launch point. Whenever I said I read a bunch of reviews for that Gore, for that Gore album, I didn't really even pay attention to the Wikipedia article, but all of those references at the bottom were just fantastic jump points to that actual source material. So I feel like if you wanted to play that game and you're cleverly resourceful, there are lots of ways that you can still do that. It's not licking stamps and putting them on cards for Columbia House like it used to be. But it's not they're going to send you a CD, and if you don't like it, you have to send it back in 14 days or they charge you $1 million for it, but it is, suggested artists, it is following rabbit holes, it is, and I still do the things like looking at band T-shirts and things like that. I like knowing I'm not the only person out there that does that stuff.
No, and I agree. I mean, it is the same thing. I just think I guess a better way to put it would be it loses its magic in a way, because it was like such a hard uphill climb to find new stuff. And now I don't have any problem. I can just go to, like, if we're going to talk Spotify, I can just go to Spotify Discovery, or like you mentioned, Wikipedia. I don't know how many old bands, because that's my thing. Like, I don't like just, there's so much of the newer stuff I just get tired of. It's not that it's bad, I get tired of it. However, if you start going into like the 60s and 70s, you can find some really, really weird stuff. And Wikipedia is like my jumping point for that because it's so old that there is nothing there. Like, it's too old. So.
Right.
Anthony, we kind of left you out a little bit. Do you want to? You already mentioned your first Cannibal Corpse tape that you bought. Anything else? Anything else you want to talk about yourself, or anything else we've talked about?
I think that if I was able to make a list for this, even though I didn't really have time, and we kind of just threw this in there, I probably would put on it for me. I guess if we're talking like. Kind of like expanding your horizon when you were younger, during the early '90s. I guess I would probably put probably Pantera on that for me.
They almost made the list,
For musically, I mean, for just the music itself, but as a bass player and as a musician as well. The first 2 or 3 albums, those are the most crucial ones. The first ones, Far Beyond Driven, and all those the other ones. I can't remember the name of them. They escape me right now, but that would definitely be on there if I made a playlist.
Cowboys from Hell, if you want to count that, which is technically their 4th album, which I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole because we'd be here arguing all day. Far Beyond Driven was
that's still a good album.
The 3rd one. Vulgar Display of Power is the 2nd one. That's the one everybody loves.
I get the older, some of them mixed up in the chronological order.
Hey, that's cool. I like all their hair band stuff anyway, like almost better than their regular stuff. So don't feel bad. It's no big deal. What else you got? Anything else to add? Or comments or anything?
No, nothing I can think of.
All right. Man, we've actually covered quite a bit and talked about more than I thought we would. So, Jessamine, you got anything else?
Is this when I can plug my stuff I've got going on?
You can do anything you want.
Okay, cool.
Sure.
I am playing this Sunday at Lindbergh's on C Street. I believe it's 318 West Commercial. I'll be playing the Sunday matinee from 2 to 4. Dustin Miller will be playing upright bass with me, and we're going to do 2 hours. It'll be original songs, cover songs. It'll be a good time. It's a free show.
All good stuff.
The food at Lindbergh's is awesome. Totally without the music. Totally take the music out. The food is worth the trip. But then we're going to tickle your earbuds with our acoustic delight and deliciousness. Delicious is a word I've been enjoying lately. So come out Sunday from 2 to 4 for some acoustic deliciousness with Jessamine and Dustin and Lindbergh's.
All right, Anthony, you got anything you want to plug or anything?
No, I'm just stoked to be a part of it now. That's it, really.
Yeah, I can't wait to get you on the playlists. But and then
me too.
I think there's some music that is and specifically metal that certain people I feel like I have to find the right person to help me interview or to help me review it, and I think hopefully you're going to be able to help me do that.
Oh, definitely, definitely.
I mean, there's some stuff that is weird that I know everybody can contribute to, and then there's things that I don't know that certain people would understand it. Not to insult any you two or Robbie or Brent or anybody else that's going to help me do it, but does that make any sense? I mean,
yeah, for sure. I'm pretty sure that depending on the topic of the next playlist and stuff, no matter what, you're going to still see probably anywhere from probably 80%. Probably the playlist will probably be 80% or more metal for sure. Just because that's what I like to listen to. So you're going to be seeing a lot of that. So.
Well, and Robbie's that way with rap and hip hop, and then I think me and Jessamine almost ride the fence. Is that fair to say, Jessamine? Do you think? Because I think me and you probably had the most variety.
Yeah, I love. And not just but I mean I love a lot of stuff. So yeah, I
can't wait.
I wouldn't
to talk
necessarily
to Robbie
like to call it riding the fence. I'm excited to get all of us talking.
I love rap. I love it a lot, and I mean I grew up. We're like the same age, so we all listen to the good rap.
Yeah, except for Robbie continues he's our guy that continues to find and bring in new artists that like I still find some new artists, but in that genre in general, it's like unless I just happen to catch something or somebody brings me something, it just the I don't know how to say it. I guess just the creative level when you take somebody I'll just use everybody knows 3 6 Mafia, okay? I love 3 6 Mafia, but if you take musically 3 6 Mafia, Genesis, musically there's a massive massive difference as far as like creativity, and I just find myself listening to more kind of creative music no matter the genre, if that makes sense. So but that, I'm glad we've got Robbie around because he brings us all different kinds of stuff, like the Flatbush Zombies. That's like his big thing, and we're actually going to do a review on their latest album here before too long. So I think we got all our plugs. I didn't give my plugs, but it's not a huge deal. zanmorning.weebly.com. I post all our reviews, and then I also write random blogs about 80s pop culture, toys, random things. Do you guys remember Mr. Gaddy's Pizza?
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
I'm writing an article about that this coming week, so
Nice.
you have to check that out. So.
Heck yeah.
All right, thanks guys for checking us out. Don't forget to rate, review, subscribe, YouTube, iTunes, Stitcher, Podomatic. Check us out on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Check out all of our personal stuff. I'm sure you can find us if you just search. So until next time, see ya.